Yes, good afternoon, sports fans. Welcome to the OBBL channel. I am LukeAdrian, commonly referred to as Luca around here, and we're in season 10. So I thought what I might do is have a look at the standings, have a look at each pool, and see who's who in the zoo, see who's pushing for that Show Pony Cup berth, and have a look at each of the teams at what they might need to do to secure their spot in the postseason. So without any further ado, let's get straight into it. We'll jump into the shit pit, which will probably be the easiest for analysis. Shit pit. So all the teams have played their round 4 match. You'll see there, which is good. Makes the analysis nice and easy. And there's the leaderboard. You've got the Woke Blokes sitting at the top, followed closely by the Wizards, and at a score of 3-1-1 each at the top there. Both of those teams have locked in their spot in the postseason. Both of them will be playing in the Show Pony Cup. And that's simply because the 3-1-0 record gets them to 11 points. 10 points. 3 points for the win and 1 for the draw. The most that the next closest the Dwarves can get to with their 2 wins and 2 losses is a win in the last round for an additional 3 points, taking them to 9. So they can't quite get there. So unfortunately for MSD3K, the security, the majors, and the classicals, as they've come to be known, this one's a wrap. So we'll see the Norse, the Woke Blokes, and the Underworld with the Wizards going through to the Show Pony Cup. It's pretty simple. With that one. No need to dwell on it. If you're a planning man, plan to be coming up against a couple of squishy Hammer 7 teams in some Norse and Underworld. It's a nice easy one to kick us off. Let's move into the Wank Tank. So one game to go in the 4th round, and it is pretty important there with the Southern Pride. Unfortunately, the Grave Consequences, as we know, have had a rough season. Haven't been able to be as competitive as Undead would otherwise like, and that's largely due to a few unfortunate early game crowd involvements, and it's just really set them up for a rough season. But Southern Pride, however, are still in the mix, and this pool is right open there for the taking. So let's have a look at the leaderboard. You've got Lonro, the legend, the man, the myth, the legend. Lonas and his Amazon Touchdown My Panties. Fantastic name and a fantastic coach who have put up a really good performance this season, sitting at 3-1-0. You would think that they're 99% locked in, but a loss for them in the last round takes them to 3-1-1, and you'll see there with the Orcs, and potentially this is where Southern Pride get their a window of opportunity there. So it's an interesting one. So with the Dwarves, with the season that the Undead are having, you would expect them to have a win in this round. I think most of the betting would be for the Dwarves in that round, taking them to 2-1-1. So then it really puts them up to 3rd place and leaves it right open for the taking. So really, let's have a look each team individually. What do they need to do? The Zons, well, it's a simple equation for them. At 3-1-0, a draw secures their spot. That would give them an unbeaten record, taking them to a nice 11 points, and the most that any other team can get to would be 10. So it's a draw or a win for the Zons, locks their spot in. Now they are up against the Southern Pride, so that makes for a very interesting matchup in the last round. For the Orcs, they had their first loss at the hands of the Pedos, which was very much an upset and a very well executed win there by Fake Butts 666, or Fake Butts Dicks, I think is the correct terminology. It's for the Orcs, again, I think to secure their spot, you're welcome there, Blake. To secure their spot, I think they really need to win. Now, who have they got in the last round? They've got they've got Durka Jihad, which again makes it a very interesting matchup, which we'll talk about next. So the Dwarves, they again go to 2-1-1, and that really, they need to win that last round. They need the Zons to have the loss, because then it'll come down to head-to-head. Now, head-to-head, if we just scroll back through, let's have a look. Southern Pride. Okay, so Southern Pride lost to the Orcs. So if they end up on the same record at a 3-1-1 as the Orcs will go through on head-to-head. Because it would mean that there would be 3 teams on 3-1-1. So stay with me here. The Dwarves beat the Zons. The Zons end up on 3-1-1. The Dwarves would then, provided that they win their round 4 match, would be 3-1-1. If the Orcs also win, that takes them to 3-1-1. You've got 3 teams at 3-1-1. The Orcs and the Zons had a draw. The Orcs beat the Dwarves, and the Dwarves beat the Zons. So I think there would be I think that's going to be hard to split, actually. It's going to be hard to split. So for the Dwarves to secure a spot, they're going to have to keep winning, and they're probably going to need to put up more points, because it may come down to touchdowns at that one. So very much open at the top. But in 4th spot, provided, currently 3rd as you see it now, but for 4th spot, provided that the Dwarves win, the door is slightly ajar there for Durka Jihad. Now, they've got the Orcs in the last round. If the Zons... let's do the maths on this one. The Zons lose. That takes them to 3-1-1. The Dwarves to 3-1-1. They're no good. They are no good. So can they get through? If the Orcs... they'll need to beat the Orcs, so that would take the Orcs to 2-1-0. Now, so if the Amazons and the Dwarves were to draw, and the Chaos Dwarves beat the Orcs, you'll have the Dwarves and the Chaos Dwarves both on 2-2-1, provided that the Dwarves win their round 4 matchup. The head-to-head between the Chaos Dwarves and the Dwarves was a draw, so it would come down again to touchdowns. This pool is going to be very interesting. It's going to come down to potentially touchdowns. If the Zons win, then it's a pretty straightforward walkthrough for the Zons. If the Zons draw, it's pretty much a straightforward walkthrough. And the Orcs, again, they need to win. So there's the most likely we're going to see the Zons go through. And then I think the next most likely is probably the Orcs, as they have Jawa's Durka Jihad, which are prone to a draw. So my money's on the Zons and the Orcs going through, but no easy way for any of those teams to secure their spot outside of Lonro and his panties, with as little as a draw. So let's move along to the Knob Mob. All games complete. Have a look at the touchdowns being scored in this pool. It's been exciting Blood Bowl. If you're interested in seeing the ball move around a lot, it's fantastic. Well done to all the coaches, and for getting your games done as early as you have. Surprisingly, though, in a heavily agility-based pool, we see the Rookie Chaos have come out and gone 3-0-1. That's an impressive record in this pool. And Saxon should be commended for the season that he is having. We have some very, very interesting matchup. We've got a top-of-the-table clash between the Chaos and the Wood Elves in the last round. And if you're interested in an in-depth analysis on any of the head-to-heads in the round 5, make sure you tune in to the tipping video that Jawa and Passdog put out, usually on a Wednesday evening. They do a fantastic job, and they'll have a breakdown of the teams for you. But This pool, really simply for the Chaos, they have a win and they're through. If they draw, it opens the door for them to be leapfrogged. So for them, the scenario is pretty simple. A win absolutely secures it. A draw leaves it down to head-to-head. And they've got a loss to the Hurricanes. Their loss came at the hands of the Hurricanes, who are nipping at the heels. So for them, it's a real simple scenario. They need to break some Wood Elf spines in the last round and get the win there. For the Wood Elves, the tables are 100% turned. They need to have the win. A draw, again, leaves them very vulnerable to a head-to-head. If they win, they go to 3-1-1 and will secure their spot. I think 11 points, 10 points will secure a spot, I think. They go to 3-1-1, and the only other team that can get to 3-1-1 are the Hurricanes. So I think this one comes down to the Eagles and the Hurricanes here. I think if the Eagles and the Hurricanes win their matchup, the Hurricanes play the Parade, the Bretonians there. If both the Hurricanes and the Eagles win, they will both go through. It's very simple for those two teams. They need to win their last matches and they go through. A draw in that top of the table clash will end up with the Chaos at 3-1-1. And if the Hurricanes were to win their match, that puts them also on 3-1-1. Which I think sees the Chaos and the High Elves would then potentially go through. Because the Eagles would be at 2-2-1. Now, down further on the leaderboard, this goes down, there's really 5 teams in it. Because of the way the matchups have fallen, we could see the Eagles lose. We could see the Hurricanes lose. And that opens the door for the Vibrations in the Parade. So if the Chaos win their matchup, they're a lock. Would mean the Eagles will have a loss and will go to 2-1-2. Meaning that the Vibration and the Parade both have the opportunity to jump them. This is a tight pool. 5-horse race. And apologies to Pricey Pants. He's simply not in the running at this point in time. I think Pricey will have a better season next season. I think there's still an element of him learning the game a bit. I think he's learned a valuable lesson about passing and handoff in the recent weeks, so he will be back bigger and better next season for sure. But this one, 5-horse race, the Vibrations playing the Crusade, you would expect them to have a win, so they'll be pushing. A slip from either the Hurricanes or the Eagles really opens the door there. It's an amazing pool that the 5th place Bretonians could end up playing Show Pony going into round 5. It's really exciting times. So the Chaos, it's easy. They have a win, secures their spot. Same for the Eagles. And the Hurricanes the Hurricanes need to win because of that top of the table clash. It's pretty simple. I think if the Chaos were to draw, again, I think they go through. Yep. So Chaos, win or a draw. Eagles need to win. Hurricanes need to win. The Vibrations, they need to win, and they need the Eagles and the Hurricanes to lose. The Parade need to win and need the Eagles and probably the Vibrations to lose. So that's a quick summary of the teams in this pool. Righto, Turd Herd. Doesn't get any easier in this pool. This is a bit messy. One match still to be played. We've got the Cowboys versus the what I've been calling GT20, the Lizardmen. It's a pretty important matchup because as we look at the leaderboard, we'll see that the Cowboys can jump themselves from 5th to 2nd. They would be, with a win in round 4, they will go to 2-1-1 and will be sitting above the Vampires but just below the Necro on head-to-head. So that's an interesting one. But if the Lizards are to win, they will resume their spot at the top of the leaderboard. So we'll either see a team go from third to first, or a team move from fifth to second, and a draw just doesn't really help either of them too much in this sense. So what does each team need to do to secure their spot? Well, for the Necro, it's a pretty simple scenario. A win for them takes them to 10 points and means they're untouchable. A draw leaves them at 8 points and vulnerable to being leapfrogged. So again, must win. I think for the Necros in the last round, they'll be playing Tooties Carmen in the last round. So you would think that they will go through favourites in that round 5 matchup. For the Vampires, the Ribboners, well, they've had a surprisingly good season. Most people expect Vampires to struggle. I suppose at the hands of a coach of the pedigree and sheer grumpy determination of Komikozi, you shouldn't be surprised too much with where they're sitting, but they've had a really good season. Despite the crowd intervention on that team as well, they're pushing for Show Pony with you would say an underdeveloped Vampire team for where they are in the season at 870. I don't actually know what they're missing this round. I'll leave that to the tipsters on Wednesday night. Yeah. So the Necro can secure their spot with a win, and Untouchable cannot be dislodged from that spot. A win for the Vampires takes them to 9 points, and again, they would be untouchable. The Vampires play GT20. I stand corrected. If GT20 or the Lizardmen, if they win, they would move to 8 points after round 4. 8 points after round 4, which would be an impressive record, and you would think that they would. Yeah, I suppose this one becomes really messy with that unplayed match. And really, it's too hard to split. You would think that Wood Elves are a favourable matchup against the Lizards. What with the ball carrier being strength 2 and have no block, you would imagine that the Wood Elves would be confident there. I think most of the tipsters tipped the Wood Elves to win that matchup, but the GT20 have developed quite nicely, so there are every chance. So, really, the Lizards, I think a win and a draw, a win in round 4, or either way, really, a win and a draw, I think will secure their spot. That'll take them to 9 points, and they'd be hard to catch. Who has the head-to-head if the Lizards and the Vamps were to end up on the same? Or is that the round 5 matchup? It is. You could very well see GT20 and the Ribboners playing off for a spot in the Show Pony. If the Lizards are to draw their round 4 match. But a win and a draw for the Lizards will more or less secure their spot. I think they would have the Vamps on touchdowns. I can't check that right now for you. I apologise. The Vampires need to win their round 5 game to absolutely secure it, because it will be against the Lizards, and they're the only other team who can push. Although, if the Necro move to 3-1-1 and the Vampires move to 3-0-2, yeah, that round 4 match really does throw it out. So I'm not going to be definitive on this one. Sorry, guys. I think the safe money is on the Necro to win their round 5 matchup against the Tooties Carmen. Although Tooties Carmen will have a significant amount of inducements, but just on the basis of form, you would expect the Necro to win that matchup, which would mean that they would be untouchable. With the Wood Elves expected to beat the Lizards, it's going to be hard to see them, the Lizards pushing for the show pony. And with the Wood Elves playing the Goblins in the last round, you would expect them to have the run home to get them through also at 3-1-1. So I expect to see the Necro and the Wood Elves from this pool go through. We will know after tonight when the Wood Elves and the and the Lizards play their match. I think the Cowboys are due for a red hot game, and I think that will set them up, and they'll be finding some form at the pointy end of the season as they move through. So just to recap, the shit pit, we've got the Woke Blokes and the Wong Fu Wizards, so Norse and Underworld going through. Apologies, I'm doing a Jawa and not negotiating this very well. So yep, the Woke Blokes Norse and the Wong Fu Wizards Underworld going through. They're already locked in. They'll be playing the show pony. In the Wank Tank, I expect to see Touchdown My Panties Amazons and the No Gays in Mother Russia Orcs going through. In the Knob Mob, I think that we'll see the Wood Elves too good for the Chaos in the last round, and I think the Hurricanes have proven to be a resilient bunch, and I think they'll both win their last 2 matches and go through, shaking up that. So that'll be a Wood Elf and a High Elf going through. And in the Turd Herd, I think we'll see a late run from the Wood Elves finding form, and they're going through, as well as the Phallus Cowboys Wood Elves going through, and the Infant Mortality Hilarity Necro team going through. So with Norse Underworld, Amazon Orc, Wood Elf High Elf, and Wood Elf Necro going through, it's a very much a agility-based prediction from me. But that's all I've got. They're my figures at this stage. It's a little bit of analysis for you. Thank you for sticking with me as I rambled my way through that. I hope that was helpful for you. I hope that gives a little bit of insight as to what the teams need to do. Pretty much in summary, just keep winning and you're a pretty good chance, particularly in the Wank Tank, Knob Mob and Turd Herd. But that'll about do it from me. I appreciate you sticking with me. I hope you've enjoyed this, and good luck for all teams who are still to play their round 4, and all teams moving into round 5. I'll catch you later.